Witches have always been such a terrifying figure upon folk stories when growing up, learning about it from elder people eventually. The long grayish hair, a long nose, the old rotten teeth, the unforgettable horrifying smile, the one green eye, the disturbing lady in the woods, the lost wanderer in the woods, or whatever you can try to describe the witch by your own words. That would always be exactly how witches would be described, like from a story or from a horror movie. My name's Julio, and I grew up listening to terrifying folk tales of witch from my mother. They say it's another way to scare children from being disobedient, allowing them to discipline the children from being bad. I guess it's because growing up with my cousin Jorge playing together every day made fantasies in our heads about hunting monsters. Well, I'm going to get right on to the horrific event that happened to us around the early 2000s. Something I have been wanting to speak about all along. It was a cloudy, windy day during the spring when my family and Jorge's family decided to have a big celebration at the park. Kids love the park, and whenever you talk about the park, they wouldn't hesitate to go for always having a fun time playing around the field. The park was located next to a canal sitting right beside a hill, which was made to block anyone from seeing the canal due to the fact it was too dangerous. They once say that a little girl went over the hill to get to the other side to play by the canal when she happened to drown. I thought it was just a story to scare kids from crossing the hill to the other side to see the canal. Similar to what I said before about a witch story to scare kids so parents can discipline them from being bad. While our families were busy barbecuing and running around playing soccer on the field with some random guest who visited the park, Jorge and I were actually sneaking up the hill. We were playing slide back and forth, though we weren't trying to head over to the other side of the hill. When standing above the hill, I can see it travels like a wall going north of the park, like a curve towards the woods, possibly farther than a mile or more, but I was sure it was a long trail if I followed the hill trail along with the canal. After playing sliding down back and forth on the hill for a while, then it became quite boring doing the same thing. I asked Jorge if he was willing to follow me down the hill trail to the end to see where it leads to, when I noticed our family were busy on their own things, which was a good time to sneak away at the moment. Apparently, this is what kids love to do when parents are busy doing their own thing, then kids are able to sneak away to go somewhere to have fun. We waited until it was safe when nobody was watching us before we were able to run down the other side of the hill. I led Jorge to the path following the canal into the curved way towards the wood located less than a few hundred feet ahead. It became further and further away whenever I looked back from where we actually came down from the hill. However, I was so curious to see what the canal would really lead to. We just kept walking and walking by, avoiding stopping for any quick rest by going on further. The curve now leads into the woods when the canal has stopped like a 100 feet behind, which we didn't know why. We just kept on walking when at first it was all about following the canal to its end. The deeper we went onto the trail, the road appeared to be buried under rocks like it had ended. Jorge says we came all the way here and there's nothing. It wasn't until I saw a kid's socks laying on the ground close to a tree. We took a look at the socks and realized we weren't the only ones who actually came this far. Jorge was beginning to creep out since we were too far from our families. The birds were chirping from the woods coming from ahead. That was the only sound we could hear. Then, standing there thinking if we should just return to our family, suddenly came a whistle out of nowhere. That got us curious about not being the only one standing by the woods. For sure we knew birds could not whistle either. It sounded like the whistling was communicating with the birds. Jorge whispers to me that we should go back now, appearing frightening. His legs were trembling already, like he was afraid of being in the woods. Just when we both realized, the whistle sounded like it was getting closer and closer. We froze like two statues facing the direction of the woods. Though we didn't move at all, we just stood there and waited while the wind began blowing towards our direction. Behind the trees appears a woman wearing an old brown long sweater which had broken leaves around certain spots. She was about 15 yards away from us. It seems like she was digging something by the tree and didn't notice we both were standing there just staring at what she was doing. Jorge got so scared that he gently stepped behind me. From the back, the lady seems to have brown long curly hairs that go down to her lower back, mixed with gray partially. Jorge whispers to me saying, "We need to leave now because I'm scared." I was so scared that I didn't even bother his words at the moment except gazing at the lady in the brown sweater. She then leans back her head, quickly glancing over to her left shoulder behind the tree, catching us both watching her from a distance. This was frightening to us, like she appears to look like some kind of mysterious witch living in the woods. Jorge then just ran away screaming in fear, leaving me behind that second when I couldn't stop him. I was terrified. I wasn't able to run because I was so scared that I had forgotten where I was or why I was here. The lady then stands up and walks towards me. On her hand, she was carrying a handful of bird eggs. I tried to take a step backward, but she was coming closer and closer, just locking her creepy dark eyes on me like I was some kind of lunch for her. Her terrifying smile showed a tooth missing from her upper teeth. She came up to me and leaned forward, having her face staring directly at me. My heart dropped. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't scream either. There was no life in me to even try to do anything except stand still like a rock, just looking back. She appeared like an old lady who was abandoned from somewhere to stay in the woods. Her left eye pupil appears to be green with red veins. What should I do? I asked myself. The old lady just kept staring at me and laughing with a horrible deep voice. In my mind, that second, all I can think of is being taken away. She then takes one of her bird eggs and gently rubs it on my face from the forehead down to the chin. I can see her nails appearing dried and broken, covered in dirt, like she may often dig the ground a lot. I wanted to call for help badly, but I was way too far. The old lady moves back and stands up straight, just gazing down at me like she had something in mind for me. At the same time, she keeps biting her dirty nails like she needs to decide what to do next while I'm just standing there in front of her. I then closed my eyes, saying in my head, "Help me." While my eyes were closed, I could feel her leaning back down, putting her face near mine, smelling her awful breath. "Julio," I heard my dad's voice screaming from behind. When I opened my eyes, I see the old lady running back right into the woods, dashing right into the bushes like she was sprinting for her life. My dad came and hugged me. He asked if I was okay when I told him I was. He took me back, telling me to ever not try to sneak away again in an unsafe area. He said he thought something terrible had happened to me when Jorge came back crying to them at the park area. To me, the old lady wasn't a regular person, but a witch described as what my mother used to tell me of folk stories. Even though after this, I never revisit this spot again. All I can think of is this old witch every time we're invited to go to the park. Her one-sided green eye was what made her the creepiest ever. Thank you for listening to this story. May you please be kind to subscribe, like, and comment below to help this content grow. Help share this content to your family and friends too. Thank you again.